Philippians chapter 4 and verse, where do I begin? Verse 6. Or let's begin at verse 4. Let's begin at verse 4. So last time out, where I concluded the teaching last week, if you were not around last week, this is the fourth installment in this series. And last week, during the third part, what God led us to talk about had to deal with our interactions, our transactions, and then I mentioned our distractions in prayer. Even though I didn't deal with it extensively, maybe I'll begin there tonight. I told us that in our engagements with God, when you begin to build discipline around prayer, you will have interactions. You need to understand that prayer is about interactions. You'll have transactions. That means in prayer, there's going to be exchange. And then you will have distractions. That means in prayer, there'll be situations, there'll be items, there'll be things that are designed by this realm and by the devil to turn your heart away from persistent prayer. So if you've been following the series carefully, you will find out that we can actually break down the series into three main blocks. What we are trying to show you, number one, is the priority of prayer. And what do we mean by the priority of prayer? It means that prayer in the life of a Christian has preeminent status. That means it's important to pray. It's important. If you don't consider prayer important for you as a Christian, I said to us that that's an indicator in itself that you don't honor and value the presence of God. Prayer is the primary tool by which we enter into and we sustain the presence of God. So every believer must come to the place where they settle it in their hearts that in my life, in my Christian life and in my walk with God, prayer is a priority. And you will find out that as a human being, whatever you do not prioritize, you will not invest in. The investment of your time, the investment of your strength, the investment of your skill, your gift, your energies, always move in the direction of your priorities. So you find somebody who says, I am struggling with prayer, but they can do other things with their lives. It's a matter of priority. The individual has not come to the place in their walk with God where they recognize that among all the things that are lawful in this realm, among all the things that are legitimate in this realm, I need to prioritize one, my spiritual life. And then in prioritizing my spiritual life, there's a dimension of my spiritual life that I must not allow to suffer neglect, and that is my prayer life. And if you've heard me teach, I've told you it's one thing to have a prayer life. It's another thing to have life in your prayer. Those are not the same thing. In prioritizing prayer, what prioritizing prayer will do for you on the one hand is make you have a prayer life. A prayer life is having routine around prayer. As a Christian, you need to realize that in dealing with spirits, spirits are attracted to routine. This is why even in the negative supernatural, they will wake up at certain times. Always the same time. They will carry out the same activities. Because spirits, one of the ways to draw a spirit to your life is to become a creature of habit, a creature of routine. That's the way it is. So Jesus, when Jesus wanted to pray, Jesus will always rise up long time before it is day. He built a routine around it. So prayer cannot be haphazard. If you were listening to me last week, I said to you that prayer is structured. Prayer is systematic. That is why prayer can be taught. So part of what prioritizing prayer does for you is that you can now build routines. If you build those routines, you will have a prayer life. And when you build those routines, your commitment to those routines, if you discipline yourself according to the things that we have been saying, for instance, in your routine, you clearly define your focus. Then there will be life in your prayer. That means your prayer now has the capacity to shift things in the visible realm. So you are not just praying and mouthing words, because it is possible that you have reduced prayer to a routine just to fulfill all righteousness. So there are people who do morning devotions just so that they can have this feeling that I'm a Christian. So morning devotions have been reduced to a stamp that Christians pray in the morning, so me too, I prayed. So just in case they are stopped on the road and asked, did you do your devotion today? They will say yes. But what exactly is the devotion achieving in your life? Are you loving God more because you are spending that devotion time? Are you being transformed into the image of Christ because you are spending that devotion time? Is it affecting how you treat your wife? Is it affecting how you treat your husband? Is it affecting your relationships at work? Is it affecting your perspective about money? Is it affecting your values when it comes to material possession? If we are not seeing commensurate transformation as a result of your consistent contact with God, you have a routine, you don't have life. And the goal of prayer is not just to be able to state that I pray, I'm a prayer warrior. That's why you have people who can pray 10 hours and pride is still in their soul. People who can pray 6 hours and lust is still in their soul. How do you describe the testimony that the man of God shared during our crusade? That a young man will meet a young girl at home, they will pray for 3 hours, and when they finish praying for 3 hours, sweating in prayer, they will now fornicate. It means that that prayer endeavor is not God that they touched. In the same atmosphere where you prayed, no fear, no reverence, it means that transactions did not happen. So even though they have routine, they pray 3 hours, they pray 5 hours, they don't have life. And you must realize that in prioritizing prayer, you must understand that one of the things that will come to you, there's a transaction that happens in the realm of the spirit when you become consistent, is that the very life of God becomes available to you to find expression even within your own vessel. So it's impossible to find a man who genuinely prays. Find such a man and not find him afflicted with humility. A true praying man will be a humble man. To afflict him with humility. Your praying and your prayer times and your prayer endeavors should even affect how you spend money. It should affect how you approach every area of your life, how you think. But many people, many Christians either do not have the priority of prayer, or the ones who have prioritized prayer, all they have is routine. They don't have life. So if you've listened to the teaching since the part 1, we have been trying to drive you to the place whereby you are pressing in to touch life. I want life. It was life that the disciples saw that made them say, Master, teach us how to pray, even just like John taught his disciples. Has it not troubled you that of all the great things that Jesus did, the disciples never asked him to teach them how to work miracles? Does it not trouble you? Because if it were this my generation, we'll be looking for power. They didn't ask him to teach them how to walk in power. There was something they saw about the way Jesus engaged God. That's how Luke put it. In Luke's account, he says after Jesus was praying somewhere. So it means that while he was praying, they were watching. What did they see in Jesus' engagement with the Father that generated genuine hunger in their hearts for prayer is life. Life. So your prayers should affect you. It's when prayers have affected you, they can affect your world. I like something that my father in the Lord always says. He says, if anything will affect your life, it will first of all affect your heart. If it does not affect your life, your heart, it cannot change your life. So it must affect your heart. It must shift you here. So if you've listened to the teachings, there is a priority of prayer. If you've also listened to the teachings, there is the purpose of prayer. The purpose of prayer. And we have said to us that in your journeys in God, your journeys in prayer, you want to be able to remind yourself that the goal of the man or woman who prays is the heart of God. I want to be intimate with God. Jesus never prayed because he was looking for something. What drove Jesus' prayer life was to maintain fellowship with the Father. So when he lived upon the face of the earth, he was bold enough to say that it is what I see my Father do. That's what I do. So how was he able to see what the Father is doing? Is that he maintained regular contact with the Father.